Hi, my name is Jeremy, and I am putting this video together to document my journey, for lack of a better term, on the carnivore diet. I've been wanting to do this for a little while now, but unfortunately, things have gotten in my way. I have been doing this now for 5 weeks. So, what I wanted to do was give an update on where things are and also start back at the beginning and just sort of explain why I decided to do this. So I'm a big guy. When I decided to start doing this, I was at about I was over 450 pounds. In the past, I've been even bigger. I think the biggest I got at one point was about 475. Um, I've used diets, all kinds of different diets over the years, and most of the time it worked. But with the other issues that I have, the other medical problems that I have in my life, the weight loss just wasn't enough. So, and I have my notes in front of me on the screen, so you have to forgive me if I keep looking over. So, the initial problems that I had before I decided to start this was one, that I'm overweight. The second and the biggest one is with that I have diabetes, and that obviously just comes from overeating over the years. Um, and there are times that I decided to go for like an 1,800 calorie diet, so I was really limiting what I was eating. But the problem was is I was still eating the wrong foods. I was still eating things that had the sugar, they were going to turn into sugar. So, of course, that would spike my blood pressure and just wouldn't do me any good. Also, I have non alcohol fatty liver disease. Um, and you'll have to forgive me if there are, I guess, numbers or something that probably go along with this. I don't have any of that right now. This is just to sort of get things going on YouTube so I can start documenting and start the process. Um, and I also have sleep apnea, which is not fun. I've had my CPAP machine for several years now, probably at least 15, at least 15 years, if not more. I have to sleep with it. I have to have it. If I don't, my sleep just gets really bad. I think at one point when they tried to test me years ago, I think I woke up like a couple hundred times in the 4 hours that they were able to test me. So it wasn't fun. One thing that I'm going to call brain fog. I think this kind of happened because of the lack of sleep that I was getting before and I guess for the consequences of the lack of sleep. And I'm not going to say, oh yeah, it killed brain cells. I don't know. But there are times when I will be talking to someone and I forget words. A simple word, a complex word, it doesn't matter, a name, a thing, and I will just sit there and blank out. I didn't do it before, but I know it has to do with the lack of sleep that I probably had over the years. And I'm just glad that I have my CPAP, that I'm actually sleeping, but I'm hoping that eventually some of that will come back. And of course, being as big as I am, I mean, I'm 6'4", and some people say that I seem to carry my weight well. Not really. It's just well placed. But there's also obviously a lack of energy. I before I started this, I couldn't do much at all. I couldn't. I could hardly walk through my house. I could hardly like walk into the kitchen, do dishes, and then I'd have to go sit down because I'd be out of breath and sweating like mad. If I went to the store, I could barely get around. I'd have to get a cart, and I'd have to hold on to that thing for dear life because I couldn't do anything else without it. There were even times when I would just have to stop and just sort of hold on for dear life for a minute while I caught my breath and then moved on. Not a good way to live. It's not. So in May of this year, 2023, my mom had been doing Carnivore for about a week, and so she asked me if I would be interested in at least watching a couple of videos on YouTube. And I think the first one that I watched was sort of like the basics video from Dr. Ken Berry, and that was just an eye opener. That was just amazing information. And then after that, I watched a video from Joe Rogan and Jordan Peterson, listening to what Peterson went through, what his daughter went through. It really shook me to the core because I never honestly thought that that it could be the things that I'm eating, could get rid of a lot of this stuff. For a long time, I guess I was just blind or stupid to the fact that, well, if I cut down on this and do a little bit of walking here and there, at least it'll get rid of, my diabetes. But it wasn't. I don't know the name of the pill, but I was, taking, I was supposed to be taking a pill, twice a day, with meals to work on, keeping my blood sugar in check. That's a whole other story. Maybe one day I'll go into that. But so on May 11th, I decided to go ahead and start. So on that day, I took my weight. It was 453. My blood sugar was about 230. And that was without having taken a pill or anything to keep that in check. So I just went ahead and started. I was eating meat, so beef, chicken. I didn't get to seafood yet. Pork, eggs. So, dairy and basically cow and pig. And I'll tell you, me, I like steak. I love steak. I love, beef. I got into it. And now as I start getting into this, let me just put up the disclaimer. I'm not a doctor. I can't tell you what to do, but I'm going to at least give you some ideas of what maybe to think about. But please watch, at least those two videos that I mentioned, at least the one from Dr. Ken Berry, and that just gives so much information. So May 11th was a Thursday. So the next Thursday I went ahead and I weighed myself. I had actually lost 8 pounds. I was at 445. I had been taking one pill a day when I started. So my blood sugar on that day was 155. Now, every time I take my blood, it's always in the morning. So after having, slept for several hours, for fasting for probably at least 12 hours, that's when I take it. So that's when you'll know when I give that information, that's the time. So after the first week, I decided that what I was going to do was stop eating at 4 o'clock in the afternoon and start eating again at least by 8. So that gave me about 16 hours of fasting, of not eating. For this, after week number 2, now here is where, a lot of the videos, if you've watched a bunch of videos, you'll know that, they talk about with carnivore that you can eat whatever you want. And, and then you hear all these stories about, people just losing tons of weight. Well, I'll tell you, for me, it didn't happen as quickly as I was hoping. When I used to diet before, I would do, 1,800 calories a day, maybe even 1,200, when I got mad and wanted to lose more weight. Well, yes, the weight would drop very quickly and a lot. But obviously, like I said, it wasn't doing much else for me because, my blood numbers were still. So week 2, again, I was at 445. So there was no change. Although now, okay. So here is where all the secondary effects of this diet, of this lifestyle change comes into effect. And this is where things get good, right? So I'm still taking 1 pill a day, but my blood sugar was now at 139. I was still, stopping eating at 4, so I was fasting for 16 hours. And so what I decided to do was start trying to walk every day. Unfortunately, it doesn't happen. But the one thing that I noticed, and I thought this was amazing, was the fact that I was able to actually walk a lot further on that first day than I didn't think I could. The street that I live on is about, from my driveway to the end of the street and back, is about 1/10 of a mile. And I was actually able to go up and back 3 times before my back really started to hurt and, I was really out of breath. So that amazed me. So good things. So at the end of week 3, at week 3, I had lost 2 pounds. I was still, at the end of that week, I was still taking a pill every day. My blood sugar was at 137 on that day. Now the notes that I had wrote that I talked about before about, my thoughts and being able to, think better. I started noticing that I wasn't forgetting words as often as I used to. I don't know. I thought that was interesting. There were times when I would just be talking to someone and my thoughts would just continue to come and it would be great. Yes, it still happened every once in a while. If there was damage from the lack of sleep over the years, maybe that damage is done, but I don't know. Maybe some of this stuff can get fixed. So at the end of week 3, I decided I was going to stop taking the pill. And just so you know, from that point on till today, and today is the 17th of June, I have not taken that pill again, just so you are aware. Now, at the end of week 4, my weight had dropped again. I got down to 435. So I had lost another 6 pounds from the previous week. My blood sugar was at 144, and at the time, the 30-day average the little machine that I have gives me that, was 146. So let's see. So I have a job right now, trying to make ends meet to deliver pizzas. And so when I first started, I had a really hard time just, trying to get the pizza into the bag, out the door, to my car, turn on the AC and breathe because I was dying. But after 4 weeks, I started noticing that I was able to get into the kitchen okay, load up the pizza, put everything in the bag, get out the door and get going. And I wasn't as, out of breath and oh my gosh, I think I'm going to die kind of feeling. And another, okay, so back in 2019, right around the beginning of the year, I got sick, and I noticed that after I got over it, which, it probably took a couple weeks, like almost every day I would just cough at random times. And what would end up happening is just phlegm would come up, and, sometimes in rather large, sticky amounts. It was kind of gross. And I had that for years. And I've noticed lately that whatever that was, I don't think it's really come back, honestly. And I happened to think about that, during that time period. And even today, still have not had that issue. So a couple days later was 30 days. One of the things that you'll find that when you watch Dr. Barry's video and other videos, that people talk about at least doing this for 30 days. So that's what I did. So at 30 days, I was down to 431. So I had lost 21 pounds total. My blood sugar on that day was 139, and my 30-day average was 140. And again, I just, the same thing. I feel like I have more energy to actually be able to move around and do work, do things at home. And I'm finding that it's a lot easier just to eat, cow and pig, and chicken and fish. I never really had real cravings, to go back to starchy, sugary foods. Yeah, you work at a pizza place, you look at it and you look at the pizza and, and it's there, but it is not tempting me like things have in the past. Honestly. And, again, the head fog, for lack of a better term, it is still there. There are times when things do still pop up that I kind of blank out for a second, trying to think of a word. So sometimes I may have to just backtrack and try to finish my sentence another way. Not that fun. Okay. Oh, so one other thing I had done. So the way that my weight carries on me is right kind of at the bottom of my rib cage. That's kind of where most of the fat in my stomach really extends out. At the time, at week 4, I actually went ahead and measured it, and it was at 65 inches. So that's also a baseline that I'm going to do every month, is I'm going to go back and try to remeasure that and see if it makes any changes. So today, since I've, readjusted my, when I'm, doing things, as far as every week. So today is the end of week 5. And like I said, today is June 17th. So I was at 428 pounds this morning. So I lost another 3. So for a total of 25 pounds. Blood sugar is still at 142, and the 7-day average, or excuse me, 30-day average is at 140 still. And, at this point, I'm probably going to be taking my blood once a week. I may do it a couple of times, but I'm also running out of the little test strips, and you know how expensive those are if you're diabetic. I actually walked like almost a mile this morning. I live, oddly enough, right next to a cemetery. Go figure. But it's I tried to actually walk almost the whole thing, but I think I got close to a mile this morning, which was, I don't know, it was weird because I got on the road, I started walking, and I was just determined to get. There's a small little incline of a hill, and I was determined to get up there, as quick as I could with as much energy as I could, and I don't know. I got up there. I just all of a sudden decided, well, I'm going to keep going. So I started making my way around the figure 8 that's there. That actually, the figure 8, if I do it, is actually a half mile all the way around. So, but I did maybe a little less than half. But, the fact that I was able to do that was just incredible. And again, the energy seems to be increasing. It really does. And, I have to go to work tonight, and I'm just feeling a lot better. The fact that I'm actually able to move around a lot more. Now, the other thing that I wanted to talk about, and I'm not going to get into, too much information, but, obviously the one thing you want to keep in mind is when you change your diet, your body's excrement is going to reflect what you're doing. So just keep in mind that if you do decide to do this, things are going to be messy when it comes out at first. I mean, I'm here at week 5, and it's still, kind of liquidy, but at the same time, again, I'm trying not to be too gross, but at the same time, there's less coming out. One thing that Dr. Berry talks about is the fact that with the food that you're eating now, your body is using it a lot more, so there's a lot less waste to come out. So keep that in mind. It's going to be a rough start in the beginning, but you'll be able to keep up on it, and you'll just get used to it. But I have no idea if anybody's going to watch this, but I just want to tell you, look, do yourself a favor, look into this diet, look into what it can do for you. I've still got a long ways to go, and this is already 23 minutes into this video, but just try to do it. Really, just if you're going to try it, please just at least try it for 30 days. You gotta get to that point where you're doing something, you're doing something on a regular basis, so you get into that habit of doing it. I'm hoping that from here on out, I'm hoping to put out a video at least probably once a week on Saturdays, just to kind of give an update. I don't know if there will be anything in between, but again, at this point, that's kind of what I'm looking at. So I hope that you get something out of this. If you've watched this, if you've gotten all the way through, thank you very much. And, if you do, put something in the chat, or in the comments, I'll definitely do my best to, respond to it. If you got questions, certainly feel free to ask, but, look into this. This is life-changing, and it'll be good for you if you do this. Anyway, take care, and hopefully you'll watch the next video. Thanks a lot.